Well, the British royals have posed for a new formal photograph. You notice there she's the only splash of color in this picture. But take a close look at her teeth.
Well, Meghan has to be in control.
The moment people started whispering that Meghan Markle wasn't just inspired by Catherine, Princess of Wales, but quietly rebuilding her entire public image piece by piece, the royal internet exploded. Because this wasn't about one dress, one charity, or one coincidence. Analysts began lining up photos, speeches, appearances, even body language, and suddenly, the pattern looked impossible to ignore. 15 moments. 15 eerie parallels. And the deeper people looked, the stranger it became. Admiration? Strategy? Or something far more calculated hiding in plain sight? Investigators of royal fashion and public behavior say the clues started long before anyone realized what they were seeing. At first, the changes seemed small, almost innocent. A pair of pearl earrings, a familiar coat dress, a shade of blue that cameras seemed to love. But when these details began stacking up again and again and again, the whispers grew louder. Because there's a thin, almost invisible line between inspiration and imitation. And according to critics watching closely, Meghan didn't just approach that line. Some believe she crossed it years ago. Let's start with something that seems harmless on the surface. Pearls. For years, pearls became almost synonymous with Catherine. Elegant, understated, quietly powerful. She wore pearl drop earrings passed through royal generations, delicate pearl necklaces during diplomatic appearances, bracelets that carried the quiet symbolism of continuity within the monarchy. Over time, pearls didn't just look good on Catherine, they became part of the visual language surrounding her image as the future queen. Then, Meghan married into the royal family, and something curious happened. Almost immediately, pearls began appearing everywhere in her wardrobe. Not random pearls, but the same classic royal-style pearls that Catherine had already made iconic again. Royal jewelry trackers even noted a dramatic increase in Meghan's pearl pieces after 2018, and the comparisons intensified when both women attended Princess Eugenie's wedding. Catherine wore small, understated pearls, elegant and almost whispering their presence. Meghan appeared in larger, dramatic pearl earrings that commanded attention the moment cameras turned. Fashion critics couldn't resist the comparison. One analyst delivered a line that lit up social media overnight: Catherine's pearls looked inherited, Meghan's looked calculated. The jewelry may have been similar, but the feeling behind them appeared completely different. And that single observation sparked a bigger question people couldn't shake. Was this coincidence or the first sign of a pattern that would keep repeating? Because the pearls were just the beginning. The next moment came when Catherine's signature designer silhouette began circulating again, a look refined over years with British designer Catherine Walker. The formula was unmistakable: a fitted coat dress, modest hemline, coordinated hat, matching clutch. Elegant, structured, instantly recognizable as Catherine's royal uniform. Then, in 2017, Catherine appeared in one particular coat dress that quickly became iconic. Cameras loved it. Fashion blogs dissected it. The silhouette screamed quiet royal confidence. 3 months later, Meghan appeared at one of her first major royal engagements, and people froze. The resemblance wasn't subtle. The same coat dress structure, the same hat and clutch pairing, the same polished royal silhouette. Different designer, yes, but the visual blueprint looked eerily familiar. Fashion journalist Elizabeth Holmes described it bluntly: the look seemed like Meghan had studied Catherine's outfit and rebuilt it piece by piece. The internet erupted instantly. Some defended Meghan, arguing fashion trends repeat, but others saw something deeper unfolding. Because this wasn't a one-time coincidence. It was beginning to feel like the opening move in a much larger pattern. Then came the color. If pearls were Catherine's quiet signature, royal blue became her visual power move. Not navy, not cobalt, a very specific shade, bright enough to dominate a photograph, but refined enough to remain regal. She wore it at her engagement announcement. She wore it meeting world leaders. She wore it during key public appearances where the monarchy wanted the world's attention. Over time, that shade of royal blue became unmistakably associated with Catherine. And then, suddenly, the same shade began appearing in Meghan's wardrobe again and again. Fashion blogger Emma Louise tracked the appearances and noticed the shift happened shortly after Meghan officially joined the royal family. Multiple events, multiple outfits. the exact same striking shade Catherine had spent years turning into her own visual trademark. Critics wasted no time making comparisons. One fashion analyst summarized the growing debate with brutal simplicity. Catherine wears royal blue. Meghan borrows it. Whether fair or not, the narrative was starting to harden. But the moment that truly made royal watchers uncomfortable wasn't about gowns or jewelry. It was about something far more personal: Catherine's casual style. Before she ever married Prince William, Catherine already had a recognizable off-duty look: fitted jeans, striped tops, white sneakers, effortlessly relatable, elegant without trying, the kind of casual wardrobe that made royal life feel almost human. Her appearance at Prince George's school sports day became legendary. Skinny jeans, striped shirt, white sneakers. Simple, authentic. Then, months later, Meghan arrived at a casual royal engagement wearing skinny jeans, a striped shirt, and white sneakers. The room reportedly went quiet. Fashion journalist Allison Jane later described the moment in words that still circulate in royal commentary circles: Catherine looks like she threw something on and accidentally looked amazing. Meghan looks like she studied Catherine's outfit and recreated it in front of a mirror. And here's the detail that kept fueling speculation: Catherine wore that casual style years before becoming royal. It was already part of her identity. Meghan's casual wardrobe transformation seemed to appear suddenly after joining the family. The timeline didn't lie, and people watching royal fashion noticed instantly. But clothing wasn't the only area where observers started spotting eerie parallels. Catherine's charity work had already become deeply defined by one central mission: early childhood development. Years of research, meetings with experts, detailed initiatives, a project that slowly grew into one of the monarchy's most serious social campaigns. When Meghan entered the royal family, many expected her to focus primarily on women's empowerment, something she had spoken passionately about long before meeting Harry. But then, something unexpected happened. Children's causes started appearing in Meghan's charitable portfolio too, not as her main focus, but just enough to spark comparisons. Royal commentator Richard Eden noticed the timing immediately. Catherine had already spent years making early childhood development her defining work. Meghan's sudden involvement in similar areas raised eyebrows among palace watchers. And then came a remark from a charity worker who had interacted with both women, a sentence that sent shockwaves through royal media circles. Catherine asks detailed questions because she genuinely wants to understand. Meghan asks questions because she knows she's supposed to. That single comment made people uncomfortable because it suggested something far deeper than fashion or coincidence. It hinted at a fundamental difference in motivation. One woman walked into the room already invested in the cause. The other walked in aware that caring was expected. And according to observers, that difference became visible in every interaction. But what happened next during Meghan's pregnancy would make critics even louder. Because when her maternity wardrobe began appearing in public photographs, some analysts claimed it looked uncannily similar to Catherine's most iconic pregnancy looks. And that's when the comparisons truly exploded. Because by this point, the public wasn't just noticing similarities anymore, they were starting to look for them. And the deeper they looked, the more parallels seemed to appear. By the time the public reached the later comparisons, something strange had already happened. What started as scattered observations about pearls and dresses had evolved into something far bigger. Commentators weren't just pointing out similarities anymore, they were connecting dots, patterns, behaviors. And every new moment seemed to feed the same uncomfortable question that had been hovering over the entire story from the beginning. Was this admiration or something far more deliberate? The next moment that triggered serious discussion didn't involve fashion at all. It involved public interaction, something Catherine had quietly mastered long before Meghan arrived. When Catherine meets the public, something subtle happens that experts have studied for years. She kneels down when speaking to children so they feel comfortable. She leans forward when listening to elderly people who have waited hours just to see her. She accepts flowers with genuine warmth, as if each bouquet carries meaning far beyond a simple gesture. It's a quiet choreography of human connection that developed naturally over time. Body language specialists have analyzed these interactions frame by frame. The smile that reaches her eyes, the relaxed posture, the unforced gestures. None of it feels rehearsed because it wasn't designed for cameras in the first place. Then, Meghan began appearing at royal walkabouts, and suddenly the same behaviors began appearing. Kneeling to talk to children, extended conversations with members of the public, gentle touches on arms and shoulders, the same techniques Catherine had been using for years. But experts noticed a difference almost immediately. Dr. Lillian Glass studied the footage of both women and made a striking observation. Catherine's body language shows genuine curiosity about the person she's speaking with. Meghan's body language appears more performance-oriented, as if she's aware of being watched while doing it. Another royal correspondent noticed something even more revealing. Catherine's focus remains completely locked on the individual she's speaking to. Meghan's eyes often shift toward the surrounding cameras. It was subtle, almost invisible unless someone was looking for it. But once people noticed it, they couldn't unsee it. The next comparison came through something far more intimate: family photographs. For years, Catherine's family photos of Prince William and the children became viral sensations, not because they were professionally staged, but because they looked real. Children running across grass, genuine laughter, natural sunlight spilling across messy, unscripted moments. There was a reason for that authenticity. Catherine studied art history in university and developed a personal passion for photography. She understood composition, lighting, timing. She waited patiently for authentic expressions instead of forcing them. Then, Meghan and Harry began releasing their own family photos. Outdoor settings, relaxed poses, candid-looking moments. At first glance, they seemed similar, but photography experts noticed something unusual. Catherine's photos captured spontaneous moments. Meghan's images looked like they had required multiple attempts to appear spontaneous. The contrast became most obvious during Christmas card releases. Catherine's photographs showed the children mid-motion, natural and imperfect. Meghan's images appeared more carefully arranged, almost like a magazine spread trying to mimic casual life. One photographer summarized the difference in a single line that spread quickly online: Catherine captures authenticity, Meghan stages it. And that observation brought the conversation to what many critics consider the most controversial moment of all: the issue of mental health advocacy. In 2016, Catherine, Prince William, and Prince Harry launched an initiative called Heads Together. The goal was simple but powerful: reduce the stigma surrounding mental health conversations. The campaign involved years of preparation, partnerships with organizations, and direct engagement with people facing mental health challenges. Catherine became deeply involved in the effort. She participated in panels discussing anxiety and depression. She met families dealing with mental health crises. She spoke openly about the emotional realities of parenthood and psychological well-being. The initiative gained enormous respect because it felt authentic and consistent. Then Meghan and Harry stepped away from the royal family. Almost immediately afterward, mental health became a central pillar of Meghan's public advocacy. Interviews, public speeches, foundation programs. Suddenly, she positioned herself as one of the most visible voices discussing emotional well-being. The timing made many royal observers uneasy. One royal commentator stated that Catherine spent years building mental health awareness quietly, while Meghan brought the issue into global headlines overnight. Supporters argued Meghan was simply continuing an important conversation. Critics argued she was stepping into a space Catherine had already spent years cultivating. The internet debate exploded, and it only intensified when Meghan began speaking publicly about motherhood struggles, an area Catherine had already addressed during her own pregnancies. Catherine had openly discussed postpartum emotional challenges and the pressure many mothers face. She spoke carefully, often emphasizing that no parent should feel isolated. Years later, Meghan discussed similar themes during her widely watched interview. The words sounded familiar, the subjects overlapped, and once again, critics claimed the narrative echoed Catherine's earlier discussions. But the most explosive comparison wasn't about fashion, charity, or motherhood. It was about hierarchy. Inside the royal family, positions are defined by constitutional structure. Catherine is married to the future king, meaning she is destined to become queen when Prince William ascends the throne. She entered the royal family with a unique background Catherine never had: international fame, Hollywood connections, global recognition from day one. She could have built an entirely different identity within the monarchy. Instead, critics believe she chose a path that constantly placed her beside Catherine in comparison. And comparison inside the royal family is a dangerous game, because one woman is preparing to wear the crown, and the other walked away from the palace. Two completely different destinies, two completely different public images, and a rivalry that continues to fascinate the world long after the palace doors close behind it.